read out our statement. It's written. We agreed on this, and so this is what I will read. Then we will open up for questions, and Promise and the team will be on hand to answer. We come together today in solidarity as citizens of the nation of Zimbabwe to condemn in the strongest possible terms the shambolic and embarrassing state of our nation 37 years after independence. As the citizens of Zimbabwe, we do this exercising our full rights as stated in the section 67 of Part 2 in Chapter 4 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, which says that we are allowed to participate individually or collectively in gatherings or groups or in any other manner in peaceful activities to influence, challenge, or support the policies of the government or any political or whatever cause, close quote. A year after we Zimbabweans, young and old, began publicly and fearlessly holding the government to account on the misrule of our nation and mismanagement of resources, we find the government still refusing to hear us. The situation is becoming worse by the day, and we, the ordinary people, will not accept this any longer. We are standing together yet again to say no, enough is enough. Our economy has collapsed, and it has collapsed because of failing policies that are not conducive for investment or growth. We find ourselves at the mercy of a cash crisis, which has already locked us out of our own earned cash and has made business a nightmare to conduct. There is no doubt that bond notes have failed spectacularly. And they have failed spectacularly because of the following or 4 reasons. Number 1, they are certainly not at par with the United States dollars that we all originally banked. Secondly, or B, they have served only to take away all the US dollars from the system. You can't find any of the US dollars in the system right now, no matter where you go. C, they are not the incentive only that the governor said they would be. And D, they are not even accessible. In essence, the government has once again succeeded in illegally taking our money as citizens. The Honorable Governor of the Reserve Bank is on record committing to us as citizens in a meeting that we held with him that he would resign if the bond notes failed. Bond notes have completely failed. We challenge the Governor of the Reserve Bank to honor his word and resign as he promised to do in the event of failure. Corruption is still unchecked as we still have no answer to the missing billions, yet senior government political officials live lavish lifestyles in the face of suffering masses. Not a single person has been questioned or a single report has been made public in connection with the missing $15 billion from diamond mining revenue. And the government expects us just to be quiet and to let that pass. We challenge government on clear answers and decisive action on the matter of the stolen $15 billion. That issue should not go away. It should never go away. For all the citizens, we say the issue of $15 billion should never become an issue of history. It's missing money and we demand answers. Over the years, and notably over the last 12 months, government has intentionally trampled our rights as citizens. We have been brutally handled. We have been harassed using the justice system simply because we exercised our constitutional right to freedom of assembly and association and freedom to demonstrate, to protest, and to present petitions. Our citizens are right now being harassed at alarming levels by our police, who behave rabidly as they throw spikes with no regard for safety or preservation of precious human life. This is a concern to us, Wazalwan, that the police throw spikes. I know that it's been said before, but it can't be said enough. Zimbabwe is not a zoo where people are trapped like animals like that. And so we want to condemn that. Every day we're being tormented by the ridiculous police roadblocks. that are designed to do nothing else but to siphon money out of us. We challenge government to stop the abuse of justice and to stop police harassment of the citizens of Zimbabwe. Today, in the sad history of a free Zimbabwe, more of our citizens are living in abject poverty. This government has failed in all its promises on job creation and poverty alleviation. In fact, yesterday's May Day for us Zimbabweans only served to remind us and to show openly how we have become a nation of people that have got no jobs, we are not employed, and how we have a generation that no longer knows how to be employed. More people are out of work. More families are going to bed hungry. Millions of our citizens are leaving the country to escape poverty. Sadly, some are even committing suicide. We cannot sit by and watch. Something must urgently be done to save lives. We call on government to radically change key policies and prioritize the lives of the suffering masses and not the political elite. We have almost completely lost our critical infrastructures that deliver social services. Our health system is on its knees. Our education system is weak. I'm sure the other day we were all shocked hearing the Minister of Education suggesting that it is progressive for you and I to pay for our school fees using goats. And his justification is that he did it when he was growing up. I'm concerned that we don't see that we are going backwards and instead of going forwards. And so our education system is weak and our welfare activity is now delivering nothing to the most underprivileged of our nation. And I'm sure you can see the orphans, you can see the widows, you can see the destitute in our nation are increasing. Our hard-working civil servants are working in the most deplorable facilities and with meager earnings, which government refuses to review, whilst yet again our top government officials never go a single month without pay or a single year without new cars. As citizens, we call for the urgent restoration of critical social services and the restoration of confidence in our civil service. Every community in Zimbabwe matters. No one is more important than others. We condemn and we reject the systematic marginalization and exclusion of other Zimbabwean regions. We refuse to be divided, and we most certainly refuse to be classed for whatever reason. We put the government on notice today that we will no longer accept marginalization, division, and being treated as second-rate citizens. One of the most shameful occurrences in Zimbabwe is how our government has treated our elderly, our senior citizens. After they came back from the war, they worked hard to develop our nation. And just as they retired to enjoy their savings, they lost everything. In 2007 to 2008, our nation's poor policies, aided by corruption, robbed them in broad daylight. But our determined parents and grandparents rolled up their sleeves, went back to work to rebuild. And just as they wiped the sweat off their brow, our government came again in 2016 and now 2017. And we're watching our senior citizens as they helplessly get pillaged again. They sleep for days in bank queues. They faithfully come with their tobacco only to be surprise taxed, and still spend weeks trying to get their money out whilst their families starve, yet government is paid cash for that tobacco. We challenge government to resolve the cash crisis and restore confidence in the banking sector. The biggest losers in all this are the youth. The young people of our nation are amongst the brightest in the region, yet we are being cheated out of our chance to grow and to raise families in a decent society. We are graduating in our thousands every year and ending up on the streets doing nothing. We are not permitted to lead. We are not permitted to flourish with ideas, and we are not permitted to speak our minds. We are used for political mileage. We are used for violence, and we are used as cheap disposable labor. Today we are drawing a line in the sand as we start to find each other and stand in solidarity for what we want for our future. To our fellow citizens in every part of the world, we know the Zimbabwe that we want, and this is not it. The Zimbabwe we want, number one, respects the rule of law, and in particular the constitution of our land. The Zimbabwe that we want respects the original ideals of the liberation struggle. The Zimbabwe that we want works zealously to protect our women, the disabled, the elderly, and our children. The Zimbabwe that we want promotes the youth and sets them up to be successors of a better nation. And number five, the Zimbabwe that we want puts the interests of the country before those of self or political affiliation. This Zimbabwe that we want is within reach. But it is only within reach if we come together, stand together, speak together, and act together. Today, as we challenge our government, we invite you, the citizens, on a journey of finding each other for that one common goal, creating the Zimbabwe that we want. Across tribal lines, across racial divides, across political affiliations, and generational lines, let's find each other and save this beautiful country called Zimbabwe. Soon we will be making a call for you, fellow citizens, to find your place with us in our different movements. Boldly answer the call. The unprecedented mobilization of Zimbabweans everywhere has begun. We thank you.
For these and other stories, visit our website www.263chat.com. Follow us on Twitter @263chat and like our Facebook page 263chat.